Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Let's Talk About It. And boy, do we have a great show for you this evening, right, Dennis?
Absolutely. I love education, and we've got probably the most important person in town regarding education.
Yes, we do. We have our new superintendent of schools, Gomero, and welcome to the show.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're so pleased to have you here. And of course, education is something both Dennis and I have been very focused on. I've been on the education committee since I went to the Capitol in 2009, and we've been working very hard to make sure all the school districts are treated the same. And so we're still working on it. And now we finally have made sure that the school districts that were underfunded are finally fully funded in accordance with our education cost sharing grant, which has been a struggle for us for a long time, even though the state Supreme Court said, hey, you should be funding everybody equally. Right, Dennis?
Absolutely. There's been a whole series of cases in the state Supreme Court, but unfortunately the results have not been forthcoming very fast. Mm-hmm. And we had to work for years and years and years to try to get changes made. And you, Susan, had a lot to do with changing the things along with a few other of your colleagues on the Education Committee and throughout the legislature so that the you're up to speed with the education cost sharing standards, which, they may not be perfect, but they're a lot better than what it used to be because we weren't getting anywhere near what we needed here in town.
In fact, just to let people know, we were underfunded to the tune of $10 million a year since Weicker was the governor. And so it took a long time for us to get to the full $10 million. And so for the last 8 or 9 years, we've been getting an additional $1 million a year till we got to our $10 million. And now we are fully funded as of 2026 in accordance with the Education Cost Sharing Grant formula. And this was true also not of just Windham, but of all the districts that had manufacturing, like Hartford, Bridgeport, Waterbury, New Haven. All those districts were underfunded.
Don't forget New Britain, my hometown.
Oh, well, I was waiting for you to say that.
Oh, you know that. You know I was going to do that, right?
I did.
Okay.
And Hartford, give Hartford an example, they are underfunded to the tune of $100 million a year. And so, people wonder, hey, what's wrong? What's wrong is we weren't funded by the state like we should be, but we have a group of people who got together and made sure that the funding was going the way it should. And you need a group of people to do anything at the Capitol. So anyway.
Don't forget, you didn't say that was the result of the last piece of litigation, which Windham was a part of, and that was the CJEF case. And I was on the steering committee for that case. That was the CJEF case that was won at trial, but and the trial judge did a marvelous job, 100-page decision, pointed out all kinds of good things. Then, unfortunately, the plaintiffs lost on appeal, but the judge did such a great job at the trial court level. The legislature got the message.
Well, let me just say thank you for mentioning the Connecticut Coalition for Justice and Education funding, because that was something that some of us lawyers at the Capitol took together, and we actually said, hey, look at all this evidence. This is why you should be fully funding us. And so we took that case, and even though it took 10 years to get the evidence in the record, we were able to make sure that we got full funding for the districts that were underfunded. But anyway, we start off with this little bit of history about funding, and we're so glad that you're here to talk to us about some of the things you've been doing since you were selected to be our superintendent of schools in July of 2025.
Well, first of all, thank you always for your advocacy and supporting the school district. Because that additional funding is definitely critical for us to be able to support our students and to provide the educational experience that they need. So I truly, truly appreciate it. So thank you. I did start in July 2025, July 1st. I developed a framework called SOAR, SOAR, and the plan was for me to come in and ensure that I was meeting with individuals from across the district, that I understood what the needs and the wants and the desires of the community were, that I was building relationships, that I was understanding our data, and that I was working in collaboration with multiple stakeholders to ensure that we were creating a plan to move forward with the providing the best educational experience for students in Windham Public Schools. And so I'm way beyond the 90-day entry plan, but there has been great things that we have been able to accomplish, and I'm just excited to share with you some of the wins that we have had so far.
Please
Yeah,
do.
please
do.
proceed. Yes.
Yes. And so our areas of focus for the 25-26 school year, we are in trying to ensure that we have a strong foundation so that we have a bright future for every single student in Windham Public Schools. We have 3 areas of focus that include ensuring the students are coming to school on a regular basis. Attendance is important. School is better when students are in school, and the number one step in order for students to do well is for them to be present. And so attendance is definitely a focus of ours. Also ensuring that students have access to grade level and standards driven instruction, that we are providing rigorous instruction for our students at the same time that we're providing support for students who may need some additional supports. So that is critical. And then the third area is, of course, ensuring that our classrooms and our schools are welcoming, that students feel a sense of belonging, that they feel like they matter, that people care about them, that we love them, and that we want them to be successful. So those are the 3 areas that we are continuing to push through the end of the school year.
That's a great thing, and I just want to say having a welcoming environment, no matter how well you're doing as a student, is a very important thing to make sure that students that maybe need a little more help have that support from the school and feel like, hey, I'm going to be able to make it because I got support.
Yes.
Tell
yes.
us about that a little bit.
Yes, so we are ensuring that that students have access to supports from, it depends on their individualized needs.
Yep.
And so if you are a student who has an IEP and may need a paraprofessional or may need speech services or a variety of services that we're able to provide, that those are offered in school while they're here with us.
Please define IEP for our listening audience.
So IEPs is an individualized educational plan for students, and we pride ourselves in ensuring that our students have what they need to be successful. So we want to make sure that we're staying true to the IEP because it is a legal document, and we ensure that all of the supports are in place. In terms of some of our wins so far, we have increased our student attendance rate. We have decreased our chronic absenteeism rate, and we are now, I compare it every week and every month to ensure that we're making progress. And our attendance rates is, we're doing great, and when we compare it to even when we started looking at our attendance back in 2016 during our pandemic years and our post-pandemic years. So we are really seeing great improvement in attendance across the district. So we're really proud of all of the work that has gone into making that a reality.
That's so important. I know I wasn't a great student in high school, but one thing I did was show up every day. Because my father and my mother wouldn't stand for it. I would get up and have a sniffle, and my mother would say, "Get up, you're going to school." So I was in school every day, and so I ended up being a B student. I could have been an A student if I worked harder, but I was too immature. But anyway, showing up is
It's
everything, and it's so important. And it's so great that we're getting better attendance records at Windham High School, and it's paying off. I mean, I just read the minutes of your last board meeting, which took place after the election. And I noticed that there was really good news in there about Windham Middle School. I don't want to interrupt your flow, but I want to make sure we talk about that.
We're definitely really proud, and this is of course, the work of the previous superintendent, as well as the strong team at Windham Middle School, the principal, Mr. De La Barrera, his administrative team, the teachers, and of course the students. But the school has been removed from the area of focus from the State Department of Education as a turnaround school. And that means that they have been able to demonstrate for 3 consecutive years considerable gains, and they are now taking off that list. So we want to continue to show that our students can achieve high levels, and that is what they have been able to demonstrate, that we can improve our academic performance, that we can improve on our attendance, we can improve on many other indicators that the state takes into consideration when assigning those types of titles or identifying schools, but we're really proud of being removed from the turnaround school status. And what we want to make sure is that we continue to receive the funding and the support so that we can continue that work. One of our main concerns is that now that we have been removed from the list, that the funding may go away with it, and we wouldn't be able to have the gains that we have had if we don't have the monetary support as well.
So one thing that, we need to take a look at as a group and as other communities like ours have the turnaround help is the fact that for years and years and years, many of the schools were underfunded. And every time we got more funding, then the students did better. And so one of the things that we need to look at when we look at the funding for the school systems is what is the actual availability of resources in the community, and how is the mill rate work, and that sort of thing. So one of the things we need to take a look at is how we have resources in the community that would mean property tax base to pay. If you don't have a property tax base to help pay for education, police, fire, all the things that go into making a town successful, then there's a real problem in terms of just utilizing the scores of the students as a go-by for funding for the towns. And that is something I think we need to take a look at as communities across the state, because when you take a look at the communities that have huge amount of wealth, their athletic departments are great. All these different things, they always are at the top, no matter what year it is, in terms of how they deal with sports and all these other things. So, we need to make sure every town has access like those towns.
Well, I want to chime in on that too. I mean, I think superintendent's concerned about we do well, we improve, and then they say, okay, you're not going to get as much money as you got last time, or you're going to lose certain funding.
Right.
That to me is bad policy, especially for
Yes.
We all know that, and I know we have education. If I wasn't a lawyer, I'd be a teacher, no question. And I'm very happy about. My parents didn't even go to high school. Okay, they were Depression era, and I'm the first person in my family, my immediate family, to go to graduate from high school, college, and law school. And public education is what made me, whatever I am in a good way today. I mean, and so I'm a big supporter of public education. And when I think about the towns that are in the lowest ERG in the state, there's 7 of them. Mm-hmm. We're one of them. And we have been in that ERG for decades. And so has Waterbury. So has New Britain, my hometown. So has Hartford, New Haven, Bridgeport, and New London. Those are the 7. And for one of those towns like Windham to show this kind of improvement and then to withdraw funding is counterproductive. You should get more funding. You should get rewarded for
so
the
that we can continue to do the things. Yes.
I know you didn't take personal credit for it, but the whole system it deserves credit for that instead of to have funding taken away. I mean, we're not where we want to be yet. We want to, as you know, in your letter, you said we got to strive for perfection. We'll never reach perfection, but we got to move in that direction. And how is taking funding away going to help? I mean, so if that is the case, if that is something that, because we don't know the answer to that yet.
We don't know it yet.
We don't know yet, and if we find out that the answer is not good, I mean, we need to gather together and fight.
Yes,
Right.
it is definitely a possibility, and in the event that we are facing receiving less funds next year, I would definitely reach out to the community, to individuals such as yourselves who have always been advocates and have helped us out in that regard, because it is
count
definitely
us in
needed.
on that too.
Yes.
Of course.
Sure, absolutely.
Yes.
Let me just
Especially
say this
Susan
about that issue, because one thing that I discovered when I got to the Capitol is how different communities like ours are from the communities that have resources. For example, many communities don't have referendums on their education budget. We do. And so they can vote down the education budget here. Many communities don't understand that even if they They may have the resources for that, so they can actually increase funding because they have the resources. In this community, we serve the whole region. I just want to say, we have more public housing on a per capita basis than anywhere else in the state except Hartford. We have 3 homeless shelters. We have a federally qualified health center that has no payment in lieu of taxes money coming in. We have a hospital that has pilot money. We have a university that has pilot money. We have numerous group homes. We have numerous halfway houses. We do all this for the region. The region doesn't have any of these things. And we have 3 nursing facilities. All of these things are great, but we do not. We have our resources removed from us by the state of Connecticut because of tax exemptions. And when you have property tax exemptions that hit a community that is about a little less than 25,000 people, you have a real problem in terms of making sure the students get the money they need to be educated. When we serve everybody in this region, we don't get the recognition we must get. So I have to get my 2 cents
That's
in
a
about
strong
that.
argument. Let's move on to more of what Superintendent has to say about things that have happened since you came on board
Yes.
on July 1.
Yes.
Sure.
I also want to echo, before I move on to just sharing some of the great things that are happening as well, I want to echo your sentiment in terms of public education. I am a first generation high school and college graduate as well, and the first one in my family to have earned a doctorate degree, and it's because of public education. And so I want to make sure that every single student has the access that you and I had to quality education so that they can do whatever their heart and their minds desire when they leave our schools. So we want to make sure that we're preparing students not only for time during their time in our schools, but also beyond. We want them to be agents of change. We want them to contribute to their communities, and we would just want them to prepare them for the future.
Very well said. Okay.
So yeah, tell us more about some of your successes.
We also have been able to decrease the number of instances where students are receiving, for instance, in-school or outside-school suspension. And it is a way, so we're seeing that what we're doing in terms of culture and climate is working because the behaviors of the students, they could have led to suspensions are decreasing. And that is something that I think we can attribute to our work and our focus on retaining or building a positive climate and culture in our buildings. So something that I'm looking forward to for the second half of the year is we're going to be engaging in professional learning about restorative practices, about culture and climate, as well as doing instructional rounds, because there has to be a balance between ensuring that our students feel safe and seen and supported, and that we also challenge them and that we ensure that they're having a strong foundational educational foundation. And so that is going to be part of the second half of the year. We're going to be doing instructional rounds. We're going to be engaging in learning about restorative practices and culture and climate. And it's all, again, to provide the best experience for our students so they can thrive.
A question about how we do the culture and climate welcoming feeling for our students. How do we do that?
Well, it starts with students knowing that we care. So, for instance, one of the conversations that we've been having as a district in terms of increasing student attendance is, do students have someone in their building that is kind of like their go-to person, right? If I was to be struggling, if I was experiencing some type of conflict, or if I needed additional supports, who can I reach out to? Who is my go-to person? And so our schools are ensuring, our staff are ensuring that every single student has that person that they can talk to, that they can connect with, to make them feel supported in the event that something happens. We are ensuring that our classes are student-driven in terms of what are the needs of the students in front of us, how do we differentiate instruction so that we can reach every student. If you're a student who does well historically academically, then we need to make sure that we're challenging you. If you're a student who may struggle, we need to ensure that we're differentiating instruction for you as well. And that is that contributes to someone feeling connected and feeling welcomed. Because if you are struggling and you have no one to turn to, then you may not want to come to school. So it's all interconnected. But definitely making sure that students, all of the schools have assemblies for students for attendance, for academic performance, and things of that nature to celebrate all of the great things that are happening in our schools.
That's wonderful to have that connection and have the students know they have somebody to go to. And then there's also the family liaisons as well.
Yes, yes. Something that we definitely want to make sure is that we're removing barriers
Yes.
and we are connecting with our families, creating opportunities for our families to come into the schools and learn about what's happening every day. How can they support their student at home? I attended at Notchak Elementary, a beautiful event. We're all male. The parents were in the school supporting their students. They call it Mike, male involved in the education.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and
We need
it was
that. We
it
gotta
was
have that.
it was a rainy day. It was a rainy evening. The school was packed, and it was beautiful to see all of these male role models with their kids coming into the school to learn about what was happening, and to learn about some supports that could be provided at the school level, and to also just have some fun and games and eat some pizza. It was just a beautiful thing to see, because we also have to stay away from that narrative that our parents are not connected or are not involved, because that is not accurate. And I see it every day when I go to schools. I see our parents involved. I see them connecting, wanting to do better, wanting to help our students. So we need to capitalize on that.
That is wonderful news, and I think, if it were up to me, I think I'd make that a regular, recurring event periodically, as often as possible. And it's good for you to come on this show, which everybody listens to have the community hear that. The community needs to know that. I think there are some areas in the community, some people in the community that underrate Wyndham Public Schools, and they don't realize how great Wyndham Public Schools is doing, how really excellent the staff is, the teachers, the Board of Education, and the students. And I think that's one reason why we wanted to have you on the show. We want to talk about those things because knowledge is important. Knowledge of the community is important. We need community support. We need even more community support than we have already because, as Susan says, we have to have a referendum on our budget.
Yes.
And see, she mentioned a few towns that don't have them. The towns that don't have them are most of the towns that are in the same erg with us. The big cities do not have referendums on the school budget, or maybe not even on the town budget, because they have 75 to 100,000, 125,000 people, and it's just not feasible. So anyway, but the referendum is a fact of life here, and I know a lot of people would like to do away with it, but it's not easy to change the charter. I know because I've sat on 4 charter revision commissions. Susan is giving me the sign that I'm talking too much.
I'm giving you
Okay,
the sign that
good.
we're about ready to go to
What-
listen to our sponsors. So this is Susan Johnson with my co-host Dennis O'Brien and our very special guest, our superintendent of schools for Wyndham Public Schools, Superintendent Gamero, and we will be right back after these messages.
Hey, I'm Dennis O'Brien. We are back on Let's Talk About It with a fabulous guest, our superintendent of schools, Iris Gamero. First appearance on Let's Talk About It, and great to have you here, Superintendent. And we were just talking a little bit about community involvement in the schools, and you had something you wanted to follow up with.
Definitely is critical for us to share with the community all of the great things that are happening in our schools. And something that I started was a monthly newsletter where I highlight some, what's happening in our schools, some of our small wins, small and big as well, highlighting some of our staff members and some of our students, and just giving them a sense of the pride that exists in Wyndham Public Schools. I'm also starting 3 superintendent advisory boards in January. One is for participation from parents and community members, another one for staff members, and one for students. We want to hear their voice. We want them to be involved in decision making, and again, in helping us continue to have that strong partnership with the community. And I'm also going to be starting monthly chats with the superintendent. These are more informal in nature, and you can come and chat with me about any concerns, ideas, things that may be on your mind. And these are going to be on a monthly basis. And so we're finding ways of staying connected with the community, of sharing the great things that are happening, and inviting you in as well. I think people need to come in and need to see that we have amazing students, we have some talented and dedicated staff, and we're going to continue to see just positive things happening in Windham. And I'm really proud to be part of this community.
Yeah, that is a wonderful thing, and that is a great way to connect with the community and find out what people are saying and thinking, because I think that's one of the most important things that any group can do, whether it's the town officials or the Board of Ed officials or in the staff. I mean, these are all the things that should be done to make sure we know what's going on in the community, find out about changes that are going on in the community, and then being able to relay to the people in the community the things that you're working on so that you can let them know some of the challenges you have and how maybe they can help work with you to get the things done everybody wants to see, and that is students do really well and have a good time in school and say, hey, this was a great experience for me. So that's very, very good. One thing that I know that you've been extremely successful at and that we have worked at a lot, and it's been one of the focuses of the things that I've been working at the Capitol, is the fact that we have a large community of students that have a home language that isn't English. And I thought maybe you'd like to talk a little bit about that.
Yes, I think one of the main aspects that makes the Windham Public Schools unique and successful, that we see it in the academic performance of our students, is the programming that we have for students whose native language is not English. We see it as something that brings more to the table rather than a deficit. Our programming in terms of dual language instruction for both students who speak English as a second language or students who are native speakers of English, I think that's an opportunity that is not given in all districts. We have a strong program that goes all the way from elementary to the middle school, and our hope is that to be able to actually expand that to the high school level. But we have very strong programming for students in all areas of the spectrum. If you're someone who's an early arrival or someone who has lived here for a long period of time, and you also see it if you have been with us from pre-K all the way through high school, and we are able to track your academic performance. We see the students who are engaged in our dual language programs, students who stay in Windham Public Schools, their academic performance increases, and we're able to see it. And so that is something that definitely we need to continue to highlight about our community, because it's what makes us, one of the things that makes us unique.
Absolutely. I'm very, very proud of the work that we've done in this area. It's really great for brain development to have the two language courses. We have the dual language school in North Windham, Compañeros program, and that we just celebrated, I guess we're at 32
30th?
years. Mm-hmm. We had the 30th celebration a couple of years ago. So, yeah.
I have a T-shirt.
Yeah.
30 years, Compañeros.
I brought a citation with Senator
right.
Flexer, and it's been one of the things that we have been very, very proud of, and one of the very few places in the state that has been able to continue having a dual language, because dual language programs are, I think, one of the most successful ways to teach students another language. And so having students that have English, learning Spanish, and students that start out with a home language Spanish, learning English, it's a great way to combine those things and really have a broader view of how things work. And instead of waiting till high school, which seems to be silly to me because of the way the brain develops, it's really important for students to start at a very early age when they're still learning about languages and development. So it's just one of the things that hopefully someday we'll follow the science on these things, but I'm glad we're following the science here in this district.
Yes, your brain is more malleable when we're younger,
Yes.
and it's easier for us to learn a second language. I came to the United States when I was in 11th grade, and I'm a second language learner. I still consider myself that, because I think in two languages, I speak in two languages, and I believe I dream in two languages. And so I find it, that's something that is a strength of Wyndham Public Schools. It is not an easy task to have a program that is solid, that has the staffing that is necessary, and that has such a trajectory, right? Because we have the history, and we have been very successful. So that is something that is a gem for Wyndham Public Schools.
It is also a gem for students when they finish, they go on to college, and looking at at us here in this country and all around the world, we have an international economy, and having more than one language really helps us excel with business, with all kinds of different aspects of our international economy. So it really, really helps all the way around with our population and the world. I mean, it's a really good thing.
I think what you're saying is what I've been thinking all along while I've been listening to this discussion about dual languages, which I don't have. I just speak English. And when I was in school back in the 50s, it wasn't that important. But it is important now, and these kids that can speak two languages are going to be well suited for the job market, very well suited, and have a big advantage. And so coming out of Wyndham Public Schools with the capability of using two languages is a real asset for these students, and a great achievement of Wyndham Public Schools. I'm thrilled by that. That is amazing, and it's it is modern. It's the way things are.
And it goes back to our mission of preparing students for the real world and for preparing students to be able to compete in a global economy. And so once you are able to be bilingual or trilingual, right, or multilingual, you're able to have a better chances of getting into the workforce or whatever it is that you decide to do after high school. But it definitely gives you an edge.
We were in Europe, over in Germany. We went over to investigate the possibility of Wyndham becoming a sister city to a town in Germany that was about the same size as ours. And actually, one of the residents of Wyndham was from that town originally. So she went with us, and her husband went, and we met with the mayor over there and the mayor of the town. And Europe is different. The countries are smaller; they're closer together. And the mayor of this small town in Germany spoke 6 languages. I mean, and I went, wow.
Yeah. And he had things. He understood. This is Bad Soden, Germany,
Yep.
and it was a wonderful visit. And to be able to meet with the mayor of Bad Soden, with our councilwoman Crystal Donahue back in the day, was very, very good. And I was very impressed. He understood what all the different types of parks we had. He was able to articulate them. I mean, my goodness. He was able to. I did ask him. I said, "How is it that you do languages here in Germany?" And he said, "Well, we start off, of course, in the preschool and kindergarten. We start off with German, and then we go to Latin, and then we go from there to English, and then another language. So they do start off with Latin, and when in this country we've gotten rid of a lot of the Latin. Sorry, but I think that was a huge mistake. Just like getting rid of cursive was a big mistake. Those kinds of things, cursive writing, of course." When I took trial methods in law school, my professor said, "Well, everybody, if you write everything out before you do your cross-examination, you don't have to look at your notes because you'll remember them." And cursive really helps the memory. And doing it on your computer is just not the same. Doesn't have the same connection as writing cursive with your notes. But I digress. So
You are really digressing. I was going to say I'm not sure I agree with you on that, but I might.
Talk to my trial
Anyway,
professor.
we'll talk about it at home.
Yeah, we don't want to get
Okay,
into
let's
another kerfuffle
let's get
here.
back to
There is
soup.
definitely a connection between the brain and the writing. There definitely is.
Okay, there you
Yes.
go.
That
See?
improves your memory.
Now I've
Yes.
heard it from
Now,
somebody who's
whether
an expert in
whether it needs to
education.
be in cursive or not, that may be debatable.
Yeah,
but
right,
definitely
right.
the brain and writing connection.
The hand, yeah.
Yes.
The hand in the brain.
Yes.
I like that. Okay, so what else do you want to talk about in terms of the changes that are occurring at Wyndham High School that are moving us in the right direction?
Well, we want to ensure that we continue our focus on, again, increasing our attendance, ensuring the students are in school, that they're being challenged, and that they feel that they're in an environment where they can thrive and be successful. And we also want to then open up ourselves to opportunities of innovation. We are in a very exciting time with access to technology and AI. How can we capitalize on those so that we can, again, support students, we can alleviate some of the, many things that teachers and staff have to do, but we need to be capitalizing on AI and technology and integrating it into technology, and so that, into education, so that students can be better supported. But that needs to be done well. There needs to be a planned effort, and we're looking forward to learning more about AI, learning about how can we integrate it in a way that is it actually impacts student learning. But I'm truly looking forward to that, because it's time for us to start capitalizing on those resources that we have available to us.
That's a real challenge, obviously. But I think you're up to it. I think when the public schools are up to it, I know a lot of people who work there and have worked there for a long time, and I'm constantly telling people in the community what a great public school system we have here.
Definitely.
Absolutely. I guess that one of the things that is going to be a big challenge in the future, especially as the students move on through their computers, is this ChatGPT. And that will be something that will be looked at, I think, by all the teachers, and when they produce a written paper, for example.
Yeah, so we have to learn how to capitalize on AI and tools such as ChatGPT, and creating assessments in a way that require for students to think critically and not for them to be able to enter, some type of task on ChatGPT and get a response, right? So we need critical thinking, we need creative solutions, and for them to be able to build. That is a way that we can utilize things like ChatGPT as a resource, but not to rely on them.
Correct.
So we have to learn how to, because they're here to stay, and so we need to learn how to navigate that.
Right.
Exactly.
Like it or not, they're here to stay.
And in some ways, the ChatGPT could be a way to make sure I have all these ideas, and then you can correct or change or whatever with the ChatGPT. But learning how to use it in a way where you're interacting with it, as opposed to letting it just do all the work for you, is a real. A real interesting thing that's going to, I guess some places are doing it now. They're working with students and they're analyzing whether or not the students are utilizing ChatGPT, and I don't know how that could be done, but I would suspect I guess if you have the question, you do it yourself, and then you see if the students just use this ChatGPT. That might be one way to do it.
I think there's also platforms that help you identify whether or not AI has been utilized for the product. They're not perfect, but it's something that,
I think you're absolutely spot on that we need to utilize it, and I think that if we utilize it in the right way, it's going to be a way for us to help the students expand access to information and how to do things. And I think that that's one of the things that, would be very, very good. In some ways.
And to support students as well. If we can utilize AI to differentiate lessons, to create lessons that are targeting certain skills that students may need to improve on, and then that is a win for everyone.
Absolutely.
And it would not require all of the research and all of the legwork that we would have had to do in the past. But again, the critical piece is knowing how to utilize it, knowing how to request the information, because you would need to put in some type of prompt. But we need to find ways of creating policy on how to use it effectively, how to use it to support students and support our teachers and staff, and see how we can expand opportunities for everyone involved.
Well, the last part of the discussion has been a little bit over my head, because I'm old and I don't know as much about any of this stuff as you two do, and I'm impressed by it, and I'm going to ask Susan about it when we get home. But I do want to emphasize the fact that I'm so impressed by your notions about creating a warm and friendly and a positive atmosphere in the school. I think that's number one. That's vital. Kids have to, you have to wake up in the morning and say, I want to go to school, not, oh, I don't think I want to go.
Yes.
I had that same attitude from kindergarten through 6th grade. Then when I got to junior high school, when I started to go through puberty, I started to change. I wasn't so positive about things. I had all kinds of things going through my head when I was very young. I didn't have those things going through my head, and it was so different. But it just makes me feel that educating children today has got to be so much harder than it was back in my day during the Cold War in the 1950s. I got a great basic education from New Britain Public Schools, but I just hear all these things that educators talk about today, and I say, "Wow, what a tough job that is." But you got to have a good atmosphere there, and
Yes.
you're right. That is number one.
That is number one.
One of the things, too, that's made it more difficult is some of the things that we've required in the law. When we decided to do special education, and we said to the families, well, we're going to have your students come home from, say, places like Mansfield Training School, and we're going to have them in the community, and we're going to have the local town boards of education address the special needs students. And so that whole process has changed how teachers have to function. So they not only have to deal with students that are in the norm, so to speak, but also students that are outside the scope. And so those are the things that teachers today have to deal with that yours and my teachers didn't have to deal with. Or the students that had, maybe they were functioning, say, with a C average. They would just say, oh, that's a C average student, instead of trying to figure out why that student's a C average student.
We definitely have some different challenges. I think that definitely after the pandemic, some of the challenges and the gaps were exacerbated, and that is something that we're seeing in the classroom every day. But I also agree that it's critical for us to have an environment where students want and staff want to be.
Yeah, that's
there
right.
Needs
the staff
to be,
too.
Yes, because
Everybody.
we need our staff to feel that even though it may be challenging, this is a challenging career, that they feel supported, that they feel like they matter as well, and they feel they can come to work and do their job.
Very good. You can feel challenged and still be happy.
Yes, and the role that I currently have is a very challenging role
Yeah, right.
as a
But you're
superintendent
happy.
of schools, but it's a very rewarding
Yes,
job.
you
It is
got
in
it.
alignment with my values, with
Yeah.
my mission and my vision in life.
Yep.
And I come to work every day thinking of how can I make things better? How can I be a better superintendent every day? How do I support my staff? How do I support my families and my students? And I wouldn't have it any other way.
And you get good feeling when things go well.
Absolutely.
And you're a leader. I've been in a leadership position. I was a judge, and I've always, ever since I got out of the Army in 1966, I have always been motivated. I wasn't like that before. That changed me, and I just feel challenges are what make me who I am. Succeeding in challenges, whether I fail or succeed. If I fail, I just bounce back. That's why I coached girls sports for 40 years and win them Little League, because I thought the girls should have a chance to, play ball, strike out, and could hit a home run the next time up. It's all about your challenges.
Yes,
And you are, you are facing those challenges in Wyndham Public Schools, and you are right about that basic thing about creating a positive atmosphere in that school, in those schools, for everybody. And that is guaranteed, I think, to increase the success of Wyndham Public Schools. That will work.
Absolutely.
Yep.
It's very, very good. I want to just go back a little bit to the great job we're doing with dual languages. And we said grade from, kindergarten through 8th grade, right? And but I remember when I was in high school, they started teaching you languages when you were in your freshman year. So we now have students that have gone straight through with dual languages, and they can go to high school and actually excel in high school as well. You want to talk a little bit about that, where they are after going through this great process that we've developed in the lower grades?
Well, yes, actually, I was yesterday at the high school doing some walkthroughs of all of our ESOL classrooms and our Spanish classes, and it was great to see. We have, students who are, again, we have students who have been here all of their lives and have been able to go through all of our programming, but we also have newcomers who may have just arrived and they're in 10th grade or 11th grade. So being able to have students be able to go to an ESOL class, or students to be able to take Spanish 1 or Spanish 2, all the way through Spanish 4, I think it is something that we want to continue to have in Wyndham Public Schools. We're small. We have about 600 students, but students have access to opportunities and options, and that is something that we want to continue to have.
Absolutely. In terms of we have the magnet school. Do you want to talk a little bit about how the magnet school is doing? It's more science and technology oriented.
Barrows is doing great. We have this, the school is fully enrolled, and we have individuals who are constantly reaching out to us so that they can be part of the lottery process. I visited this morning and went into the different classrooms, and my favorite classroom to visit today was a music classroom where students were, getting ready for the concerts that are happening now in December and for the winter holidays, the winter concerts.
Fantastic.
So it was it's just great to see our students engage in hands-on learning experiences. But even though it is a STEM academy, the students are being exposed to all of the other great things as well in terms of ELA and math and music and technology and things of that nature. But it is a place that you go and you feel the sense of calm. Students are happy, and students are engaged in learning at deep levels every single day. And so that's what I love the most about my job, is finding opportunities to go into the schools and see our students and our teachers in action, and it just brings me joy.
That's wonderful. We're winding down to our last minute and a half or so. I'd love to have you summarize some of the things that you'd like to emphasize after our chat today, and just thank you so much. So please go ahead and give us a little summary.
I want to thank you first and foremost for inviting me to come over and share some of the great things that are happening in Wyndham Public Schools. And what I want to say is that even though I'm a results-driven individual, I want to see results. I want to see our attendance improve. I want to see our suspensions decrease. I want to see our academic performance increase. And for us not to just be the best in our area, but be the best in Connecticut. I also understand that in order for us to do that, we need to be in partnership with our families, with our staff, with our students, with the community. Relationships matter, and it's how we're going to get to that level that we intend to get to. And so I value all of the relationships I have been able to build so far, and I look forward to continue to work in collaboration with the town officials, with our families, with the community, so that we can see great things happening for Wyndham Public Schools.
Well, we look forward to working with you and communicating all the things that are going on here back at the Capitol, and making sure that our students are thought about all the time.
We also look forward to having you back again soon on Let's Talk About It. We have a great show, and the reason it's a great show is because we have a great producer, Matt Rupar, but we also have fantastic guests. And tonight, folks, we had Iris Gomero, who is the superintendent of Wyndham Public Schools, doing a great job and looking to get Wyndham Public Schools even greater. Okay, we'll be back next week with another great show. This is Dennis O'Brien for Susan Johnson, Matt Rupar, and Superintendent Iris Gomero. Have a great weekend.